Okay, let's talk about our speaker. Many of you know Bob Hertzberg. Can you put a little? Many of you know him. He lives in Sherman Oaks. Has been a member of the association for 20 years. He was our assemblyman for 6 years. He was Speaker of the Assembly for 2 terms, 4 years. 2 years. 2 years.
Like 4 years.
I felt like 4 years. Okay. But I have a couple observations. Number one, I was in Sacramento last Thursday meeting with staff people for a number of senators. Now these are staff people, not elected officials who they love everyone they ever met, if they're elected officials. Staff people. And I would bring up Hertzberg's name because I kind of want to see what people really think of this guy. People, these are staff people. They say he changed the assembly like no other speaker ever that has been in the assembly. This guy has changed the whole system of the state legislature. I don't know how many people told me, I hope he runs for governor. We need a governor like him. And these are staff people in the Senate. I think it tells a lot about the person, not the press releases. It's what people who work with you think about you and what they want to happen with him. Now, I have a question for you. I heard a rumor that if Lieutenant Governor Garamendi wins in his race for Congress in November, and therefore he has to resign as Lieutenant Governor. I've heard there are rumors that the governor, who you were on his transition team, correct? Okay. I understand there are rumors that he might appoint you Lieutenant Governor. Is there any truth to that rumor?
Not that I know of.
Not you know of. But that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I hear the same thing. But you know, hey, it's noise, politics.
Okay. With that, I'd like to introduce our friend, our Sherman Oaks representative, the next mayor, the next governor, Bob Hertzberg.
I hugged a bunch of people, not everybody, but it's good to be back. This is my home. I live in the community. I think it's probably been more than 20 years. I think I said 20, but maybe it's been longer. I don't know. But it's wonderful to be here. When Richard called and asked for me to come, you know, I hold no position. I'm just a private citizen who cares deeply about the political process, and I wanted to come because I have so many people I haven't seen. I've been gone for a while, to both talk to you a little bit about what I've been doing and to talk about kind of the big picture of what I think we need to be doing in government that will help the San Fernando Valley, will help the city, will help the state. Before I do that, I just want to say a couple of things. One of the great things about being a public person, there's a lot of things about it that aren't great. But one of the great things about being a public person is you get to see people you've never seen before, or people from years ago who connect with you. And there's a gentleman over here who's 79 years old who came up to me, Fred Trabeau. Is Fred still here? Did he leave? 79 years old. His father, my grandfather, my parents from Wisconsin came out, my grandfather had TB and came to Duarte, to the Jewish home, and he was there in the 40s, and his father and my grandfather were there together. And it's unbelievable to connect at that level. It's kind of just a human story that is one of the great sides of just being a public person. I also want to just make a couple of other acknowledgements. My son, who's a senior at Campbell Hall, of the 3 boys, is here. Daniel Hertzberg, he's back in the corner. He's taller than me, and that upsets me. Okay, Daniel, stand up. Come on, I know you're going to be embarrassed. Daniel Hertzberg, he's a contender. He was in Washington this summer working for my buddy Dennis Cardoza. And sitting right next to him is my best buddy Freddie Gaines, that everybody knows, who's been involved in everything under the sun, Fred Gaines. And, you know, is Adina still here? Who was my candidate for the 5th district. But let me tell you, Koretz, you're off to a good start. We put together a good team. You got Joe on the team. You got Jeff on the team. You bulletproof folks. Rich Llewellyn. It's impressive. It's good. I was Zetzi here for everything and give him a hard time. I work with him. I've known him for a long time. But it's good to see. And I do wish you well and doing the good job because it demands that level of attention for folks. Democracy's failing, and the fact that you're here and working your kishkas out is a good thing. I appreciate that. I don't know if Joe Fox is still here. He was here before. I don't know if he left. Let me start with a story that that I used to start with. Fred remembers this at the town hall meetings with Sherman Oaks. It was a Sherman Oaks Town Council meetings we did for a while. And we used to, and then when Matt Epstein asked me to come here, he wanted me to do the historical tidbits. And in addition to being a rat-think lawyer, unfortunately, I started a PhD program at UCLA in California history. And I'm a great student of California history, of local history. It's very important to me, and I think and I've always seen from a political perspective, a way to connect people to their communities and telling stories about where they live. And I think it helps inform who we are, and it's important. And we live in California where so few of us were born here that it's important. And I want to start with the story of General Moses Hazeltine Sherman. Moses Hazeltine Sherman, a young farmer from Vermont, born in the mid-1880s. And he was a pretty entrepreneurial fella, and he came out to Arizona Territory. And when he came out to Arizona Territory at a young age of 21 years old, he ended up becoming the superintendent of public instruction because he sought to organize the educational systems in Arizona. His organizational skills were so great, then Governor John Fremont of the territories, who was important in the formation of California and defending or taking over California from its former owners in the territory, appointed him and made him a general. Hence, General Moses Hazeltine Sherman. The kind of entrepreneurial spirit that he was still restless and moved from Arizona to California, to our community, bought 1,000 acres from Isaac Lankershim, whose son-in-law was Isaac Van Nuys, all the Yiddles, and so he bought 1,000 acres, which formed the basis of Sherman Oaks. And Sherman, from his name, Oaks, because of the oak trees that were here at the time of the 1,000-acre development. Hazeltine, of course, was his name, and Sherman Way was Chandler Boulevard. Chandler Boulevard changed its name because the Chandler family had their hunting lodge across the street from my house near Chandler and Hazeltine, and so hence they moved Sherman Way up the way, and that became Chandler Boulevard. But that is the story of Sherman Oaks and how Sherman Oaks was founded. And I start with that story both as an appreciation of who we are on the one hand, and on the other hand, I think as an inspiration to get us out of where we are now, because we are, I think as Ellen was saying, the ship is sinking and we are stuck in the mud at a number of levels. The democracy is failing at a number of levels. Now, I'm not one of these great critics who talk so horribly about California, because the truth of the matter is, all of us have great stories of the genius of California that brought us here. The stories that made us one of the greatest economic powers in the world, the nation state. The stories of innovation from the aerospace industry to technology in Silicon Valley, example after example after example. There is a genius of California that was at work. It's breaking down, I would argue, because no one anticipated 38 million people and growing in this area. No one anticipated a state the size of the eastern seaboard. If you turn California on its side, it's 3 time zones, right? I don't know how many people have been to Del Norte County or Siskiyou or some of the other places of the 58 counties of California, but it is staggeringly complex, staggeringly big, with unbelievably a tremendous diversity.